Welcome to episode 26 of our series on the surnames of Appalachia and the American South. As you know, there are thousands of surnames in these regions. So to make our task more manageable, we're focusing on pre-Civil War surnames. That's because the Industrial Revolution of the late 1800s introduced thousands more names across the fruited plains. Some of them no doubt made their way into major cities of the South and certain coal mining areas in central Appalachia. Each of the family names we'll examine today, as always, was requested by members of our YouTube community. You might note that I discuss surnames in the order that I received them, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve as a resource for you. I also appreciate your patience as I make my way through the names still on our list. I also want your input on a possible topic for a show. Mary, Queen of Scots, has been written about quite a bit, but those are 600 plus page works. It was suggested to me that a program or two on the tragic life of Mary Stuart would be interesting. What say you? Leave a comment below if you'd like to see that kind of programming. Well, also, by request, I'm posting an email address to the Vantage Point in the description so you can request a surname catalog. It contains all the surnames that we have covered up through this week. So, today on the Vantage Point, we'll be talking about the origins and meanings of 9 common and not so common Appalachian and Southern surnames. I hope you'll join me. Let's get started. Number 1, Clary. I think the surname Clary provides another piece of evidence that Irish people from outside of Ulster came to Appalachia and the South before the Civil War. In Irish Gaelic, Clary looks like it's one of the original hereditary names of Ireland. It originated in Galway, a county town of County Galway. You might find it interesting that if you want to hear Gaelic spoken on the streets, chances are greatest in Galway. After the 13th century, the surname began to spread out around the Emerald Isle. Still, I think we're safe in calling Clary an Irish surname. Number 2, McNeal. McNeal means the son of Neil. Now that we've briefly visited Ireland, let's turn our attention to the bonny land of northern Great Britain, otherwise known as Scotland. McNeal is one of the more important clans in historic Scotland, but Robert Bell tells us that it was an Irish name before it was introduced into Scotland and then reintroduced into Ulster. I hope you've got that. If you've investigated Y chromosome DNA, you no doubt know that 1 out of 12 men in Ireland and a sizable number of males in Scotland are believed to be direct descendants of Neil of the 9 Hostages. Neil was a 5th century Irish warlord who was known to get around, if you know what I mean. All things considered, for us in the South, I think we can safely call McNeal a Scottish or Scots-Irish name. Number 3, Rathbone. The first record of Rathbone in England was penned in Cheshire in the 14th century. Despite that, Henry Harrison believes strongly that it originated as a Welsh or perhaps even an Irish name. He bases that contention on syllables in related Irish and Welsh words. If it's Irish, it means white palace or fort. If it came from Wales, it simply means stumpy clearing. Despite its deep Celtic roots, I was unable to find a sizable presence of Rathbone folks in Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. If Harrison is right, which I have no reason to doubt him, I believe we're safe in calling Rathbone an Anglo-Celtic surname. Number 4, Holmes. In 1887, British author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle published a book titled A Study in Scarlet. Arguably the most famous detective in British history made his first appearance in that book. His name was Sherlock Holmes. In a strictly linguistic sense, Holmes was originally an Anglo-Scandinavian name that was given to a person who lived on a river island. Because of that, Holmes is a toponymic surname, with 2 points of origin, England and Scotland. In looking at Ireland, McClysick tells us that most of the folks with the Holmes surname on the Emerald Isle are of Scottish descent. Few claim English ancestry. Knowing these things, what ethnic label do we in Appalachia and the South put on this surname? I think it would be safe in calling Holmes an English, Scottish, or Scots-Irish surname, depending upon where one's line originated. Number 5, Harris. When I first saw this request, my mind went immediately to the southern portion of the island of Lewis and Harris. That island is in the Scottish Outer Hebrides. In fact, it's the biggest island in the Outer Hebrides. It's famous for Harris wool. Knowing this made me wonder if Harris originated as a Scottish surname. Nope, it didn't. Harris began its existence as a Teutonic Anglo-French surname. It's found in Scotland, but Black says it's more English than Scottish. It's derived from the son of Harry, which is a form of Henry. Since my dad and his father were both named Harry, I suppose I could be called Harris or Harrison. On second thought, I think Barry's close enough to Harry. Anyway, looking at Ireland, we find that Harris is described as English surname that first appeared with the immigrants that arrived during the plantation of Ulster. If you haven't seen my video on King James and the Ulster plantation, I'll post a link to it in the description. I think we're safe in calling Harris an Anglo-Irish, Anglo-Scottish, or English surname depending on where your line of Harris originated. Number 6, Belcher. I'm going to give a shout out to Anita Shirley, who has patiently waited for me to cover Belcher. I was happy to discover that it wasn't derived from Belch. On the contrary, this Anglo-French Latin surname meant pretty face in Old French, belle. I suspect that the earliest Belchers had a different impact on the folks than those with the name Belch. If you followed the channel, you should be able to guess which group of immigrants introduced Belcher into the Isles. If you said the Normans, you would be correct. Unlike other Norman surnames, though, this one didn't spread far and wide across Great Britain and Ireland. McLysick, Bell, and Black don't even discuss it in their books, so I think we're safe in calling Belcher an English or Anglo-Norman surname. Number 7, Barr. As you may recall, short, simple names often have more than one source of origin. That's true with my own last name. Barr certainly falls in that category of family names. Henry Harrison tells us that it's either an Anglo-French name for a dweller at a gate or barrier, or it's a Scottish Gaelic surname with a presence in Ulster and Scotland. In the case of the Scottish form, it's derived from a dweller at a hilltop. In a sense, both forms of the surname have relationships to site features. That's a topic that really gets geographers interested. I need to point out that in Ireland, Barr is considered an English name in the Republic and a Scottish name in Ulster, or the Northern Ireland. I think that in Appalachia in the South, it's hard to beat a paper trail and perhaps the results of a Y chromosome test to determine your line's specific point of origin. With that said, though, I think that we can slap an English, Scottish, or Scots-Irish label on Barr. Number 8, Ford. As we've seen with other surnames in which Ford is a suffix, like Ledford, it means stream crossing, and it's of English derivation. Despite that, Henry Ford, whose family immigrated to County Cork, Ireland from Somerset, England in the 16th century, was really into his Irish heritage. Born in Springwells Township, Michigan in 1863, Henry Ford was a first-generation American. I should point out that many fans of classic Hollywood movies, especially westerns, know that John Ford, who directed classics like The Searchers and The Quiet Man, about an Irish boxer from America, was also proud of his Irish heritage. However, his real name was John Martin Jack Feeney. In Ireland, Ford is seen as an English surname, but 4 families in Ireland adopted it as a synonym. In the north of Great Britain, dwellers by Fords also picked up the name. So linguistically, Ford is an English-derived surname, but an immigrant in America could well be English, Irish, Scottish, or Welsh. I think we would need a paper trail and perhaps a Y chromosome test to determine where your line originated. But if you have RM222 Y chromosome, you are thought to be a direct descendant of Neil of the 9 Hostages. Number 9, Tucker. Just now, when I read Tucker, a scene from the movie Dances with Wolves appeared in my mind. It's early in the movie during the so-called Battle of St. David's Field when the Union General Tide asked a subordinate officer, "Is that Tucker's men?" Here he was referring to Brigadier General William F. Tucker, a real person. But before I leave you with the notion that the Tuckers were all Confederates, forget that. Colonel Joseph H. Tucker from Illinois was a colonel for the Union Army. At any rate, Tucker also appears in Great Britain as Toker. It's an occupational name of Anglo-French Teutonic origin. Just like the surname Walker, it was given to a fuller of cloth. You might wonder what a fuller's job entailed. Well, it was a cleaning process whereby workers would apply water and pressure to woolen cloth to remove dirt and oils with an aim to make the cloth fresher and thicker, fuller that is. Because so many cultures in Europe depended on wool to stay warm, especially during the Little Ice Age, forms of tucker appeared in the ancient Teutonic and French languages. However, it's not listed among the common surnames in Scotland or Wales, let alone Brittany. Forms of this English surname are found in Ireland, including an anglicized form of. Due to the length of time since the surname's inception and arrival in the British Isles, I think we in the South are safe in calling Tucker an English or Anglo-Irish surname. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you got something meaningful out of our discussion. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I invite you to check out all the videos on the Vantage Point. In addition to Surnames of Appalachia in the South, they cover a wide range of topics. I'm considering doing a program on the tragic life of Mary, Queen of Scots. Please leave a comment below if you'd like to hear more about Mary. I really would like to know if you're interested. It's a lot of work, so you know what I mean. But anyway, if demand warrants it, I'll be back soon with another episode on the Surnames of Appalachia and the American South. I hope to see you then. God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.